So, it is Super Bowl Sunday, and Broncos, I'm in Boulder, Colorado, just north of Denver. The Broncos are in the game, and I don't know how to deal with that. So, it seems that one of these boards under here, most likely this board somewhere, gets hot and it shuts off. It doesn't look very apparent on this side, so I'm going to have to take that card out, this whole electronic card, and see if I can, maybe the other side I can see a bad solder joint. You can see they don't even solder the card on this side. There's no solder on any of it. There isn't even a pad on this side for any of those parts. They're through hole, but they're soldered on the back. So I'm going to take that all apart to get that off of there. Actually, it looks like it might just slide to one side after you take out that screw. So hang on a second here. Take out that screw. I already turned the power off. I didn't unplug the oven. I turned the power off out in the garage on the circuit on the breaker box. And it just pops out. I'm checking solder joints, look to see if there's any bad solder joints. But if you look, basically right there on that chip, it looks like there's a little particle of solder right there. Possibly a jump between those two pins. Definitely not intentional. So, got my pocket knife out here. A little bit of grease on it or something there. I don't really want that getting on the card. So, basically we're gonna pop that little chunk of material out of there. Definitely metallic, whatever it is. And that gets rid of whatever that was. Can't really see the top of that chip. But for the most part, all those solder joints really do look pretty good. They're a lot better than most of the stuff that I come across from other companies. So I have to give them credit on that end. Their solder joints do look pretty good. That one right there may not be flowed through all the way, and that is not going anywhere. It's a via, so irrelevant. Nothing else on the card appears to be broken. Like basically what can happen is these little pins are sticking through, and if you don't get enough solder on them so that it, oh look right there, see, that's exactly what I was talking about right there. That is a bad solder joint. That when that heats up or cools off, that relay will disconnect. So there you go, problem solved. Give me a couple of minutes, I'll go grab my soldering iron out of the truck and we'll get on that. Ran out to the truck, grab my electronic toolbox, and get my soldering iron here. This is a pretty decent iron. It's an old Weller, which aren't great, but it's pretty durable. Lasted a lot of years so far. And I never really had any problem with it. We've got one at work that has given us issues, but keep in mind it's on 8-9 hours a day every day, and so it's a little less, or a little more prone to damage. So You know, in here I actually keep a few other things like calipers and drill bits, and you know, there's some speaker wire. This is an inverter so that I can run some of this stuff in the truck. There's a bunch more tools up here. I'm not sure what goes in all of these. Somebody gave me that toolbox. It was Mora, Jerry's friend who watched the dogs a couple years ago, and she just found that somewhere. So what we're gonna do, this is exactly like in my Honda. I had a relay in my Honda that the exact same thing occurred. It was a Hitachi part, and it basically just that solder joint gets hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold, and just like ice in a concrete pad, it expands and contracts and expands and contracts, and over time that adds up to a crack forming. These are the different hots and colds, and you end up with what we've got here. So we're just gonna fill that sucker right in there. Nice big fresh glob. There we go. That was tough. Now I took this out so that I could take a look at it and get in there. It ended up not needing anything. Put it back together, and it just slides right into here. Find the right slot there. Kind of has a plug on the bottom that fits into, and then underneath here are these little clips. They fit into these little slots, so you just kind of, let's see if we can get this to sit right here. Alright, we'll just line this up with the clips in the slots, like that. You gotta get top and bottom, and all of them, and then once you got them on, you just kind of slide it over to the left a little bit so that it holds it in place. Make sure you got all of them on there, and then there was just this one screw that kept it from sliding off of there, right there. And you can see I'm not even using a real screwdriver. I'm using a Leatherman for this. Oh, there you go. Now, the issue has been that whenever we try to run this oven, it gets hot and shuts off after 19 minutes. And so although we can sometimes get like a frozen meal through it before it's dead, it rarely gives us everything we need. And so according to the internet, there's an oven heat sensor that goes bad and causes the error that we get, the error code that we get all the time. But Jerry and I both kind of thought that it seemed a little fishy that the front burners could make that alarm also go off and have the oven shut down. So we've been talking about trying to fix it for a couple of months, as is somewhat typical around here. We don't tend to get on things yesterday, more like eventually. And I don't really have a heck of a lot I can say about it most of the time. If I do things without Jerry's permission, he can get very angry. Alright, so it's been an hour since I resoldered that solder joint in the oven, and it's been maintaining 410 degrees Fahrenheit for exactly an hour and 2 minutes, and that's 3 times longer than it has in almost, I'm going to say, 8 months. We typically run out, turn the power off, and then run back in, and after leave it off for 20 seconds, come back in and turn it back on and get another 5 minutes out of it a couple times if we really want to push the envelope. But it is completely fixed now, so that's quite the deal. Awesome, awesome. Alright, I can't seem to get it to go very far. Just power cycled. Alright, there we go. For some reason the GoPro is filming like 2 seconds and then shutting off. I just finished testing the oven, and I have baked this delicious piece of salmon here. This is a wild caught piece of Pacific salmon. I think it was sockeye, which happens to be one of my favorites. Sockeye salmon are the only planktonic salmon. They eat plankton like whales versus small fish, and predate. Well, I mean, it's still predation, but it's on a micro scale. Plankton and krill are like that big versus fish and that kind of thing that most of the other ones will eat on. So you cannot have a farm-raised sockeye salmon. They don't exist because there's no way to feed them. So anyway, the oven repair was successful. This was only 13 minutes, which of course is not a relevant number for the test, as it would always last 18, 19, maybe 22, 23 minutes on a good day. Yes, contract, because water is the only thing that expands. So the solder joint would contract, and so the hole, which had solder, would pull away, and the solder pin, or the pin from the part, would contract and get smaller, and so all the way around it would separate away, and the electrons couldn't make it through anymore, and the oven would shut off. But I'm going to put a little salt on this, but there you go. Oven baked salmon, sockeye, and we got 2 minutes till the halftime on the football game. Broncos are winning on the Super Bowl. See? Oh my God. This. I just had that little piece right there. It is absolutely delicious. And that salmon marinade with a little bit of Old Bay and then a little bit of that smoked honey or maple syrup, smoked maple syrup. Whew. Grill that or bake that. Oh, delicious. It's amazing. And can't dislike green French fries. Amazing. Broncos. Go Broncos.